the absolute value of a number is the number's distance from 0 on the number line. And to write the absolute value of a number a, we use the absolute value bars. And because absolute value represents distance, it is never negative. For example, the absolute value of -4 is +4. And this is because -4 is 4 units from 0. Absolute value of 2 is 2, because 2 is 2 units from 0. Now let's see the algebraic definition of absolute value. The absolute value of a equals a if a is greater or equal to 0, and it is negative a if a is less than 0. So if a number is positive or 0, then the absolute value is the same as the number. For example, the absolute value of 5 is 5. But if a number is negative, then the absolute value is the opposite of that number. For example, the absolute value of -7 is +7. So the opposite of -7 is +7. Now let's see the properties. The first one is for any real number a, the absolute value of a is greater or equal to 0. So again, the absolute value is never negative. The next one, the absolute value of a equals the absolute value of -a. For example, the absolute value of 4 is the same as the absolute value of -4. The next property is a is less than or equal to the absolute value of a. So again, for any positive or negative real number a is always less than or equal to the absolute value of a. For example, if a is a positive number like 9, then 9 equals the absolute value of 9. But if a is a negative number like -9, then -9 is less than the absolute value of -9. The next one is for any real numbers a and b, the absolute value of the product a and b is the same as the product of their absolute values. So if we multiply two numbers and then take the absolute value, that will be the same as taking the absolute value of each number, then multiplying those positive values together. For example, the absolute value of -5 times 4 equals the absolute value of -5 multiplied by the absolute value of 4. On the left side, -5 times 4 is -20, and the absolute value of -20 is +20. On the right side, the absolute value of -5 is +5, and the absolute value of 4 is still 4, and 5 times 4 is also 20. The next property is the absolute value of a over b equals the absolute value of a over the absolute value of b, provided that b is not equal to 0. For example, the absolute value of 6 over -2 equals the absolute value of 6 over the absolute value of -2. On the left side, 6 divided by -2 is -3, and the absolute value of -3 is +3. On the right side, absolute value of 6 is 6, absolute value of -2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is also 3. And one more property, the absolute value of a plus b is less than or equal to the absolute value of a plus the absolute value of b. And here we have two possible cases. And the first one is if a and b have the same sign, then the absolute value of a plus b equals the absolute value of a plus the absolute value of b. For example, let a be -4 and b -3. Then absolute value of -4 plus -3 equals the absolute value of -4 plus the absolute value of -3. On the left side, -4 plus -3 is 7, and absolute value of -7 is +7. On the right side, the absolute value of -4 is +4, and the absolute value of -3 is +3, and 4 plus 3 is also 7. But now, if a and b have different signs, then the absolute value of a plus b is less than the absolute value of a plus the absolute value of b. For example, let a be 5 and b -7. Then absolute value of 5 plus -7 is less than absolute value of 5 plus absolute value of -7. On the left side, 5 plus -7 is -2, and absolute value of -2 is +2. But on the right side, the absolute value of 5 is 5, and the absolute value of -7 is +7, and 5 plus 7 is 12, and 2 is less than 12. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video useful, please like, share, and subscribe.